This is Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, this universal energy life force. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, we welcome all levels and all lineages. And today, you're so lucky to not only have one guide, but two. So I am your first guide on this Reiki journey, Tracy Searight.
And I am your co-guide, Millie Pampina.
And today I am super excited for the guest that I have. I met her during a Holy Fire 3 Master Teacher Training. I was retaking it, and I was fortunate enough not only to be paired up with her in a breakout room once, but twice. So, what a magical experience, and she's just so fascinating. So, our guest today is Margaret Mary Loftus. Now, amazing resume here. I mean, listen up, pay attention. So, from a very young age, Reiki entered her world, and she remembered going with her father, who was a naval surgeon, and he would attend patients. So she was holding hands and holding space for those patients at a very young age. She is an accomplished world traveler as well. She has worked for the US government, US and overseas, as well as foreign governments, private businesses, and companies. Her and her husband were very fortunate to retire in 2008 and return to the US with their children. She has worked at several businesses, and she even founded the Central Firm, which helps individuals, families, and businesses, profit and nonprofits, and governments by analyzing what they and what they need to be more economical, effective, and efficient. Then COVID hit. So she began searching online for anything that would calm and help her and focus given to the world situation. And she found a number of wonderful modalities to utilize personally. So she began with her journey in Reiki. So I'm going to let her tell you all these wonderful experiences that she has and has obtained and all these certifications. So welcome, Margaret Mary. It is just so wonderful to have you here on Ready Set Reiki.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I was just tickled that we were paired not once, but twice, because there's always a leveling up when you get to do consistency and repetition. So that we got to do it in the training was just awesome. And then when you reached out to me and said, hey, by the way, I was just like, yeah, sure, why not?
Wonderful. And we are
Well,
so
thank you.
happy that you are here. So, our first question, I gave a little bit of information to our listeners, but you know what? You are the best source. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and all the training and all the work that you have put in your Reiki journey.
It's been considerable, and I never saw myself where I am now. COVID really took us all by surprise and by storm. And I found myself in a very transitory position with COVID, because I was away when COVID hit. And when I returned, my personal effects were on the front porch. And I was just like, okay, got it. The answer doesn't lie here. It's a little bit further down the yellow brick road. So I got to experience, like really experience COVID in many different unique ways and fashions. And what I didn't know then was that I was an empath. And the empathic stress that was experienced by everybody, not just empaths, was overwhelming. And for a time, I landed in Philadelphia, where there was a lot going on during 2020 and COVID. And I just kept searching for anything or everything. And I came across a number of different modalities. As you said, I was very fortunate. I just needed something to listen to that would take me down. And I came across Panache Desai's Call to Calm every morning. So I was listening to that, but what am I going to do for the other 23 hours? And so I looked on YouTube and I came across Milan Moritz, who is a sound oracle. And boy, that was a huge contribution. But, you know, we're all in lockdown and I'm a physical person. And Milan did an interview with Mike Chang, who is world famous for six-pack shortcuts, and left that, set that up and left it, and now does Flow 60. So I started using, and all of this was free. It was all on YouTube. So it doesn't have to cost anything. And Mike's Flow 60 program was something I could do in a very small square footage. I didn't need any equipment. And things changed in Philadelphia, and I found myself heading south. I grew up in a place called Bethany Beach, Delaware, and that has always been my home away from home. It's where I met my husband. Actually, I met his father. I rescued his father. And then I ended up marrying Donald. And, you know, as Dorothy says, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. It's COVID, and I came back here. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I just followed the intuition. And in August, things were ramping up again. And I was just like, I need something else. And I'm searching online, and I typed something else into the browser, but what keyed out was reiki.org. And I'm just like, I'm looking at my hands on the keyboard going, I didn't type that. So as it's often said, Reiki finds us.
Yes.
And in my journey, I'm now present to, I've always had Reiki. I didn't have any training. I didn't have the vernacular. I didn't know what I didn't know. My father recognized it, which is why from a very young age, like 3-4 years old, he would take me to see patients. Take me to see patients because I'm a 3-4-year-old. But at 7, I began formally working in his office, doing little things, cleaning the bathroom. And I was Reikiing everything. And there were times where I'd come in here and just hold this person's hands. Okay, no problem. Sure, Father, whatever you want. And so it's August 2020. I looked at the schedule and I saw the next available course that I could sign up for was the first weekend in October. And so I did that, and it was with William Lee Rand. And once I was on that list, I received an invite to the Great Healing Experience, which William participates from time to time in.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, let's get a taste of this. I wasn't attuned. I hadn't had a placement, and there was no ignition at that point. And it was a long experience. I think those are usually between 5 and 6 hours. And it was really powerful. And William is always the first speaker, given that we have people from all over the world participating in that. And he spoke about Japan and the trip. And I just felt this pull from my core. And I was like, I'm going to Japan.
Love that.
And of course I couldn't register because I wasn't attuned.
Mm-hmm.
So I became attuned. I was in a class with William, and this is COVID, and I did it online, and there's about approximately 300 people in the class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I'm a bit of a geek. So I'm looking at the statistics and measures, and I'm running the numbers, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm going through page after page after page. And it's like, oh my gosh. And one of my classmates asked, will this work? And how do we know it's going to work? And they were interrupting William. And, you know, William was talking, and he was like, and I can feel the energy flowing right now because I'm saying the word. And, we could see his hands on his desk. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know about that. But I'd already had the Holy Fire healing experience online.
Mhm.
And that was unlike anything else I had ever experienced. And then that first day in class where I'm clearing the space, using the music that he had provided, I'm so invigorated. And then we go down into another Holy Fire. And the first one was amazing when I wasn't attuned, but this was to prepare me for attunement. This was to heal whatever was in the way. William had made the recommendation, and I accepted the recommendation of fasting prior, doing a liquid fast. So I did do that. And, I'm in this experience, and I'm kind of laid back like this. And I hear this voice, you may stay in your experience for as long as you would like. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming back. I am not coming back. And it really took me a while to come back. So I was grateful that it was online, and it was very, very powerful. And within 2 weeks, I registered for Japan. And William had very kindly shared about someone he works with, Colleen Benelli, who introduced the both of us because we were both reviewing her course. And it was really wonderful. I started participating in her Tuesday Reiki Share event, and she talked about her next step course. And I'm like, I don't know what I don't know, and I so don't know it. So I registered for her advanced training, which is a 3, and now, if you choose, a 4-year training course in advanced Reiki techniques. And I haven't looked back. I was just really chomping at the bit because I wanted it all, and I wanted it now. And the wisdom of Reiki and the wisdom of the ICRT is to pace ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it began. And Japan got postponed and postponed and postponed. And I was able to go to Japan this year with William and Colleen and Lena Takahashi and Munikai Muhammad, who assisted.
Yes.
And was in Japan for several months. And when I came back, I got to meet you because my guide said, there's something more for you to do. So
sure,
I did the additional training, and the most recent training I completed, and I just received notification that I am certified, is the Raven Keys Medical Reiki International Certified Medical Reiki Master.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, you've done a lot of work. Do you want to share with our listeners some of your certifications?
I have all the certifications that the ICRT offers, as well as the Raven Keys Medical Reiki International. So that is Reiki 1 and 2, Reiki Master, Karuna Reiki Master, Animal Reiki 1 and 2, Animal Reiki Master. And I am in my 3rd year of Reiki Lifestyle Next Step. And I have 1 more year to go.
Wow. It's so impressive. I love it. And you just have this thirst for the knowledge. I love it.
I don't know what I don't know.
I love
I'm
it.
gonna go find it. Yes.
Sure. Well, our next question you brought up a little bit as you were speaking. When did Reiki come into your life?
Hindsight being 2020 and the world being as it is, I now know it came with me.
Mm-hmm.
It formally came into my life in August 2020 when I felt a calling, and I knew I needed more support for what we were all growing through.
Mm-hmm.
You can go through anything, and I choose to grow through it. And then I became formally attuned October 3rd and October 4th of 2020.
Wonderful. And I love how you're looking through the lens of you're growing through it, because still so many people have that negative perception of COVID, but there were many silver linings in that. So it's good that you were able to put it in such a positive way. So, working in this field, being educated in this field, what is the common misperception about this work?
I am still very young at this, and I am also still very isolated.
Mm.
The misperceptions that I have experienced is that this is the devil's work.
Mm.
I was fortunate and blessed to work in a healing arts center, and there was a very devout, faithful person who would discourage people from receiving Reiki, actively discourage. Now, this was not my business, and the business owner took care of that. But that was the one that's the one I've come up with. But thankfully, as a world traveler and as a person with a very diverse family, I have learned language that is appropriate for the receiver.
It's very good. Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. So, you've been a world traveler, wonderful things you've had the opportunity to do. You've had this role as, wife, parent, daughter, Reiki master teacher. What is something you wish that your younger self knew about your current profession?
I wish I had it all way back when. I was often made wrong for what I could do. And I didn't know what I was doing. And it was difficult because I didn't have any language. I didn't have any support. And when things would happen, I would be at the effect of the people around me with regards to it. And as a result of that, I shut everything down. I shut myself down. It impacted me greatly. And thankfully, thanks to Reiki, I am quickly returning to my authentic self. And it's very, very empowering.
Right, right. And then as you navigated through your life as an empath, also, so that was probably your way of handling it, by shutting it down. So, and then Reiki brings it in and lets it flow, right?
Exactly. I had teachers. I went to Catholic schools where corporal punishment was allowed.
Yes.
So I was on the receiving end of that, because, it's like, there is no way you could know that. You must have been spying. And I was like, I wasn't even there. It showed up in my head, so I'm asking the question.
Sure.
So, those were my experiences. And as a young person, not having a mentor or someone to talk about it, I was labeled the weird one. And it was very, very confusing.
Sure.
And everything that I got to grow through has been a real blessing.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. And what's amazing about, probably why it resonates with you so deeply with the Holy Fire, is that is one for that religious baggage or trauma. So that's a good one, even though it is not religious, it is spiritual. So it brings in these healing experiences and really does the work. So that may be why you felt so drawn to it. So
absolutely. And having, such a ethnically diverse and religiously diverse family, and being in all those environments throughout my life and in the world, I just saw it the way that I saw it. And then I would hear things behind closed doors. So those mixed messages were just really confusing. It's like, why are they wrong for being Jewish? They're our family. Shh,
Sure.
don't say anything. And it's just like, I was too young to, and I grew up with general principle, and children are to be seen and not heard.
Of course, yeah. And I was
So
kind of in that last tail of that generation too, where you had things, we lived in a really working class area. And so my grandfather, kind of the same way, he would definitely be canceled today, but, almost Archie Bunker. Let's put it nicely that way. So, yeah.
I know Archie just a little too well.
Yes, so that was kind of a little bit, oh, you're dancing over to that one. So, yes,
Yeah.
completely understand. Well, as we have both, all of us here on our show today have been through the Holy Fire and things that William Lee Rand offers. And so he says to be the standard of excellence, so to say, in the field here. What is something that everybody in this industry should stop doing?
We should stop making each other wrong. One of the beautiful things that I love about the ICRT and being able to study with Colleen and Robin and Danny and Sue and all the other ICRT LMRTs who are that I can find and interact with is the guidance is Reiki your way.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of science behind that. And Jenny Sullivan recently spoke about that with two LMRTs, Karen Harrison and Pamela Allen LeBlanc, about the human design and how it is very much Reiki. And, we're always told to follow our intuition and our inner guidance. And our intuition and our inner guidance is our compass.
Mm-hmm.
So let's, okay, that works for you. Show me what you're doing. And when it resonates, great. But share and share generously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important too. And then always practice, keep practicing. I always tell everybody practice.
Practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes permanent.
I love that.
But it's perfect practice your way.
Your way, right?
Your
right,
way. Because,
right.
yeah, with all the people, all the studying I've done, I listen to it. But then what shows up for me to do is what is for me to do. And it's like,
Sure.
oh, wow. Okay. No problem. Thanks.
Yeah.
Message received.
Right. And I tell my students that you can take 10 of us and line us up, and we're all going to do something unique, and that's perfect. And it'll be exactly what that client or that student needs. So there's no wrong way to do this. So,
Exactly. That's that inspiration, that inner guidance, that intuition.
mm-hmm.
Because when it shows up, that's what it's about.
Wonderful. So our next question is, what is the biggest challenge in this industry today?
The biggest challenge is that I'm hearing a lot right now is getting started, practicing your way, finding your way. And in the background of what I'm hearing is some of the legislative stuff that is occurring and the systems and structures. So I became a professional member of the ICRT and the Center for Reiki Research. And one of the talents, gifts, capabilities that I bring to the table is the central firm is a government contracting. That's where it really got started, doing government contracting. So I've been through the process of being OSD certified. And I am navigating those channels right now and documenting everything that I'm doing, because Reiki is, and thanks this is one of the blessings of COVID. Reiki is a complementary modality, which means people can use their FSA or their HSA. And if you don't know what that means, it's your flexible spending account or your health savings account. And in the event that you are self-employed, you save all those receipts and you write them off your taxes. And I know where I've been. And one of the places I went was 9 months on a PTSD ward. After surviving something that I was told was completely unsurvivable. There's no explanation as to why you're alive. And clearly Reiki was guiding me and supporting me. And I have participated in the Center for Reiki Research's webinars and their first international conference. And the Veterans Administration recognizes what we do. They see the benefit. I don't know of any insurance company that pays for our services, but I want to document the process and then share it with the ICRT so that people can, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4, and you have a manual for creating a business. If that's what you want, if you want to be a contractor with the United States government and support that way. So
I love that. That's so wonderful. Yeah, to have that as an additional resource for those who are passionate about Reiki and want to blend it into their lives on a daily basis to be of service to others. So wonderful. Thank you for all your hard work with that and, bringing that to the ICRT. So now it is time for you to get a Reiki treatment. So what qualities do you look for in a Reiki practitioner?
I don't really look for qualities in the Reiki practitioner. I look for the one that resonates.
Okay.
I'm in this Reiki world and it's phenomenal. And I encounter people, and I've been doing Reiki since 2020, October 2020, and giving treatments and practicing. And it was a real boost for me to be hired as a contractor with a healing arts center. And, from that book of business, get a lot of really great customers, and then really be able to show and contribute because the people took it out into the world.
Wow.
But I wait for the guidance. My intuition is really strong.
Yes.
And, I just wait for it to show up.
Wonderful. I love that. So you have continued on this journey for a number of years, and in your story, it sounds like, since you were that little girl holding those patients' hands, that you were probably definitely giving them Reiki without knowing it. So someone who is brand new to this modality, what advice would you give someone who is just starting out in this profession?
Do it. Whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, a janitor, you work for the municipality, Reiki, practice. Wherever you go, bring it. Like, no kidding. Unconditionally bring it to every single thing that you do, because Reiki is love. And integrous love is everywhere. Everywhere, from the people that collect the trash for us, to the people who make sure we have potable water, to the people who give us the laws by which we agree to live by, to law enforcement, to military, to doctors, to nurses. You don't have to be a Reiki practitioner. You can, as Tracy said earlier, weave it into your life.
Mhm.
I'm reading Pamela Allen LeBlanc's
Yes.
Reiki business book because I just completed her course in June. And one of the individuals in here is an attorney.
Mhm.
And she hired a full-time Reiki master to work with her clients.
Mhm.
And then she became a Reiki master because she saw the impact, but she brings it into the courtroom.
Mhm.
You know, think about how powerful that is if, as you begin and end everything with Reiki and have it guide. Here's what I know. Wars don't have to happen.
Mhm.
They don't. We don't have to have arguments.
Mhm.
Shows like Parking Wars and Cops
Yeah.
no longer need to exist.
Yeah. You just think as your day goes along, if you just take a moment just to pause, place your hands on your heart center, and just let the Reiki come in before, it's really helps you self regulate in situations. And even though, we're human, we get triggered. Um, my husband had made a comment about, like, oh, you're getting angry. And I'm like, well, you know what? Jesus got angry too. So I said, I'm a human having a human experience. So when I feel that coming on, and I really think it's like, okay, well, that's an interesting reaction. Where's that coming from? And just pausing and now just regrouping, I have the tools, and they're just wonderful tools. So use it in your daily life, use it on yourself, use it on others. And many of us are out there, and how wonderful it would be if we were all taught this skill and had this tool in our toolbox to pause before you picked up that sword to go at someone, or you spewed out those negative words to someone. So just take that moment, pause, and then allow that body to reset and let the Reiki flow. Wonderful.
You're absolutely correct. And there is science behind that. There
Mhm.
are equations behind that.
Mhm.
Einstein, theory
Yeah.
of relativity and special relativity.
Mhm.
E equals mc squared. Emotions.
Yes.
The E is for energy. The E in emotion is energy in motion.
Mhm.
So what is the frequency of that? What is showing up? And, oh yeah, this isn't mine. I don't need to be taking it on.
Sure. Sure.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct,
Have it
Tracy.
taken somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So in this work, uh, we always do that invocation as we bring in and welcome any and all who are of service for those highest good. So, what are your go to archangels if you use them in your personal practice, your teaching, or giving Reiki sessions?
The one that kept showing up when I was at the Healing Art Center and since in working with different people, that the name that gets shared with me, and I kept having to look it up because I wasn't certain, is Archangel Metatron.
Mm, I love that.
And when I was in the Raven Keys Medical Reiki International course a couple weeks ago, one part of it is where you are introduced, you meet your medical Reiki guides or your medical Reiki angels. And the experience I had, it's like everybody wants to know the name. And what was communicated to me is names are a human thing. We are all frequencies. And so that really helped me release the names. And all I have to do is be with the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're there. And
Right.
I call them in.
Wonderful.
But I haven't formally worked with anyone by a particular name, but
Sure.
people told me Archangel Metatron.
Okay.
And as an animal Reiki master, I'm rather fond of St. Francis.
Okay, very good, very good. And then also in our journey in Holy Fire, the brothers and sisters of the light.
Absolutely. All of them, like
Yes,
collectively, when
yes,
I work on people now, what shows up are these hands, these white translucent hands.
yeah,
And as the hands come in, each hand becomes a feather, and the person is enveloped in gossamer wings.
sure.
That's the vision that, but each hand is a different frequency.
Wonderful.
It's a different guide. So the brothers and sisters of the light, the ascended masters, the
Yes.
descended masters, the
Hmm.
sacred ones, the beloved ones, the enlightened ones, they're all there.
Right.
And they're ready. They're at the ready. All you have to do is say, help.
Yeah, all you have to do is ask. I think people just forget the simplicity of it because many
Mhm.
students will say, well, what if I do this or you can't remember? Then call it in. Call it in, ask for help. Ask for backup,
Exactly.
right?
Right. And I'm sitting
Spiritual
here
backup.
looking at you with these beautiful wings with
Feathers.
all, or feathers with all
Yeah.
the incredible frequencies, because
Sure,
color is a frequency. So
sure.
I'm really present to this Reiki experience.
Of course.
Like they're all here right now.
Right now. Yep.
Mhm.
Wonderful. So our next question is books. What books do you recommend?
Every single book through the ICRT. I have every single one of them, and the ones that I could get in digital format. And it isn't a book, but it's a really, really invaluable resource, is the Reiki News magazine.
Wonderful.
It's, it packs a punch. And I'm rereading Pamela Allen LeBlanc's book, and I just ordered all of Raven Key's books. I'm
Oh,
awaiting for
wonderful.
them to arrive,
All right.
because I'm continuing my studies through them. They have additional training, and I was like, okay, let's get the books.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So this is our last question. So where can somebody find you who's interested in your sessions, teaching, your guidance? Where can we find you?
Physically, I'm in Delaware on a barrier island. Good luck with that.
Okay.
But my office is in Wilmington, Delaware,
Okay.
and you can find, thanks to Pam's tutelage and guidance, I have changed my name formally from the Central Firm to Reiki Central, but everything is still on the website under www.thecentralfirm.com.
I love that. I love that name. It's really great. I love it.
Well, I got that when I was on Mount Karama. I was
Oh,
up there
wonderful.
on a day when nobody was there. The weather was, as it would occur for some people, rather foul. And I just loved that I had the mountain to myself and all that energy. And I just went all the way up to the top and sat there quietly. And it was like, you're not the Central Firm, Reiki Central.
I love it.
So I'm going through the process with the state of Delaware to make all those changes correctly.
Wonderful. Well, that is our last question, and thank you so much. I'm going to take this time to pass it over to my co-guide, Millie, who has some questions for social media. So we release our podcast weekly, and we go online and ask our listeners to come up with some questions, and I had to narrow it down just to 3 questions. So I had a lot of people interested in sending it in, so it was quite tough. I did put one of my questions in there because, when we were in group together, you mentioned about the grid, so I want to hear about that. So it's an interesting story. So Millie?
Thank you, Tracy. And my goodness, Margaret Mary. I'm just sitting here. I was taking notes and just in awe of all that you've done and your desire to do so. That's really the key here, is that you have an inner drive to do this personally, and you're doing so much and so well in such a more compact period of time. But what's beautiful is you're, getting to your higher self and recognizing the skills and everything you've had since you were a young child, and being able to put names to the faces and things. And I love that. The first question I have here may not be a brief answer for you, because it's in listening, I heard so many wonderful stories and experiences. But the first social media question we have is, can you share a favorite Reiki experience? So a personal favorite Reiki experience, if you had to narrow it down to maybe that group of, which one would you choose?
I would choose the one I'm having right now, right here with the three of us, because where two or more are gathered, Reiki's on.
There you go.
Oh,
And that this is Ready Set Reiki, it's Ready Set Reiki on. It's always the current one, because each one I get to level up. I have had some remarkably profound experiences, and it's always the current one. They're just absolutely amazing.
well, thank you. I'm actually starting to get my Raphael glow here going. I can feel the warmth in my chest. So, and thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
tried.
There's beauty in brevity.
Yes, there is. So tell us about your experience with Reiki grids. I love that Tracy put that in there, because I love grids. So I'm just dying to hear what you've been doing and what your experience has been.
I don't know what I don't know, and I was taught about grids in the Reiki Master course. And I was very, very blessed and fortunate to literally have Crystal Life Technologies show up in my feed. I was typing something in and that showed up in my browser. So I clicked on that and I needed items. So I called there and I connected with one of the co-owners, and she was phenomenal, and she was a Reiki master. And I didn't know what I didn't know about grids, and she connected with me utilizing Reiki and helped me make the selections for my grid for my Reiki Master course. And from there, she and I still work together today, even though she's left Crystal Life Technologies. I learned through William the World Peace Holy Fire grids, and then through Animal Reiki, when you become an Animal Reiki person, you receive a grid as well. So those are the two grids I work with. And I do call myself the Johnny Appleseed of World Peace Holy Fire Reiki grids and the Animal Reiki grid. And I connect with people and I make grids for them and I sell them. Meaning I acquire the crystals that they need, I encase them so that they can mount it on a wall, or they can, and because it's very, very personal. A grid is personal, but then I also, and they're all over the place. I've done over 100 grids, and in the building I'm in right now, there are about 50 grids working. And I just absolutely love them because they work 24/7. And I am a human being having a human experience, which means I need to sleep at some point, which means I can't be up doing Reiki. And thanks to Raven Keys Medical Reiki International and listening to the inner guidance, I have 10 Reiki grids that are dedicated to medical Reiki. And so wherever I go, I take a grid and I find somebody that I can talk to about the grid, and I leave it with them. And then other people are interested. They view it as a beautiful work of art. Other people really understand that what a grid provides. But those are the basis of what I do with the Reiki grids. And I recently, in the last month, was guided to a really phenomenal World Peace Holy Fire Reiki grid meditation of my own that I do out in the ocean. So I swim year round without a wetsuit. I love animals. The water dwellers show up, the air dwellers show up. So I have those grids for them as well. And I really appreciate that the ICRT and William Lee Rand created this grid, that the divine passed this information along, because I need to sleep sometime.
Yeah. Beautiful. Do you, just for our viewers, and well, really for myself anyway, are your grids, do you have this on your website? Is this something that you advertise there, or how can somebody get in a view of that?
They can't get a view of it because I am working with somebody to revamp the website, and that's where the focus is right now. You can call me. All you need to do is look at the image on reiki.org of the basis for the grid, but each grid is individual, and I
Okay.
create the grid for the person.
Okay.
And the medical grids, I please email me, m2@thecentralfirm.com. And the reason for that, if you need medical Reiki, send me your name. That's all I need. If you want to share more, that'll be wonderful. And I will literally place you on a medical Reiki grid. And the medical Reiki grids look exactly like Williams. They are double terminated clear quartz.
Mhm.
They're not cheap, the double terminated clear quartz, but boy, are they effective. I am just amazed at the results that people are so generously sharing with me, that when they're placed on a grid. And I'm so grateful that I have learned this, because again, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if I had this when I was sitting on a PTSD ward.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been very effective for you, and sending and receiving that energy with the double terminated points. That just sounds so amazing. I just am enjoying your journey here with you. Kind of
Well,
vicariously.
and I have to acknowledge the other place, the local place that I get to work with is Stoneworks Lapidary up in Rehoboth Beach. They are so generous. I have been able to go to them and share with them what I'm doing with the grids, because the primary person, Pat and Debbie, are both Reiki masters, and they understand. They don't do grids, they just sell crystals. And I can tell them what I need. And if it's not in the shop, they do the legwork for me. They help me acquire crystals and get everything going. And so I'm really grateful to them.
Very nice. Yeah, our networks expand exponentially in this area. It's so interesting. The people we meet and the services they provide and how we support one another.
Absolutely.
You know, I love it. So, in your experience, what are the benefits of Reiki? That's our last social media question.
My benefits of Reiki is the return to my authentic self. living and serving in the Middle East took me to a place that I never imagined. And every experience that I have had has trained and developed me. And I am so grateful for COVID, and I'm so grateful to Reiki, because when I left that PTSD hospital, I left with suitcases full of drugs. And I'm a mom. And people were counting on me. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't know how. I knew I was going to get off those drugs. And I knew I was going to find a way back up that cliff that I had fallen off of, gone down to the bottom, flattened, and that there was no coming back from. Because I'm fortunate, I have stayed in touch with a number of the other people that was on the ward with me. And I am where I am because of Reiki. I am where I am because I have life source energy within me. Something kept me alive. Something kept me moving forward. I grew through some really incredible experiences, and they were important for me to grow through them so that I could connect with others, relate with them, and give them hope. Reiki is hope. It is healing hope. I don't take any medications. I don't wake up to an alarm clock. I eat when I'm hungry. I go to sleep when I'm tired. I deal with what is directly in front of me. I live life moment by moment. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so humbled. Those are the benefits. As Usui Sensei says, the precepts. Anger is a frequency. Don't be angry. Be humble. Be grateful. Don't worry. Those are all frequencies. I get present to that. I do the moving meditation 3 times a day because I live where I live, and I live a human life. And so 3 times a day helps ground me profoundly, truly, sincerely, and deeply.
Yes. That's a beautiful testimony to the power of Reiki and, your involvement and devotion to it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been very enlightening, and honestly, I'm feeling the effects right now. I feel wonderful. And I thank you so much. And Tracy, I'm going to bring it back to you right now, dear.
Thank you, Margaret Mary, so much for being our guest today. So when we were in that breakout room together, and when you practice, especially the distance Reiki, we bring in a surrogate to do our little practice online. And she showed me how I'm holding your bear just like this. I knew she got it. So thank you so much for being our guest on Ready, Set, Reiki. For those of you who are interested in learning more about us, if you want to listen or even be a guest, you can reach out to us at ReadySetReiki.com. You can find us on social media as well. Like I said in the beginning, if you listen to the podcast from the very start, we get new episodes every Sunday. So I have been one of your guides on this journey, Tracy Searight.
And I've been your co-guide, Millie Pampina. And thank you so much for joining us. And I'll leave you with my favorite tagline, which is, to see beauty in everything is a choice. Please choose wisely.
And this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.